Half-life. Okay? First and foremost, you have to be able to write a definition for what is half-life. 1 mark in the exam. Yeah? What is half-life? Half-life, you have 3 ways you can write this. It is the time taken for. Okay? That part is the same for everything. Now I'm going to write 3 different sections. Half-life could be the time taken for half the radioactive nuclei in a sample to decay. Okay? You have a radioactive sample, 200,000 atoms. How long does it take before that 200,000 atoms decays to only 100,000? Whatever that time is, that is your half-life. Because then, if I say, look, it takes 2 minutes for 200,000 atoms to become 100,000 atoms, that means your half-life is 2 minutes. So from 100,000 to 50,000, it will take 2 minutes. 50,000 to 25,000, 2 minutes. The only thing changing is that every half-life, less and less decay. Because I started with 200,000, I went to 100,000 in 2 minutes. 100,000 atoms, or nuclei, sorry, decayed. Then I went from 100,000 to 50,000, again in 2 minutes, but this time only 50,000 have decayed. And the reason for that is because you could also say half-life is the time taken for the activity of the radioactive sample, to half. Okay? So let's define activity. Activity is the number of decays per second. How many decays in this substance, let's say uranium, how many times does it decay every second? How could I measure that? Use a GM tube. Yeah? So the activity is how many decays per second. Activity is measured in a unit called the becquerel, and the symbol we use for the becquerel is BQ. Yes? So 1 becquerel is 1 decay per second. Half-life, how long does it take for the activity to half? Exactly the same. If I start with 1,000 becquerel and I check the timer, and then in 2 minutes it's 500 becquerel, the half-life is again 2 minutes. Then 500 BQ goes to 250 in 2 minutes, to 125 in 2 minutes, and half and half and half every 2 minutes. Half-life is specific to the sample. If I say to you uranium-236 has a half-life of 5 hours, it doesn't matter how many you start with. If I say here's 1 billion uranium atoms, how long is it going to take till it's half a billion? 5 hours. Here's only 10,000 uranium atoms. How long is it going to take before that comes 5,000? 5 hours. The half-life is the same no matter how many you have. It will always halve whatever it's on in 5 hours. Yeah? That's the half-life. There's only one more thing that also halves in the same time. The time taken for the mass of radioactive sample to half. Okay? So all 3 things could be examined. They could say, here are 200,000 nuclei. At what time does it become half that number? At what time or how long does it take for half those nuclei to decay? Could say, the activity of a sample is this. The half-life is this. What would be the activity after 5 half-lives, or even it could say, the half-life of this sample is 5 minutes. The starting activity is 200 BQ. So what is the activity after 30 minutes? So 1 half-life is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, 25, 30. 6 half-lives. So what do? I take the 200 becquerel that I started with and I halve it 6 times. Could just put to the power of 6. So halve it once becomes 1000, halve it again becomes 500, again 250, again 125. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Again would be 62.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more would become 31.25 BQ. So what would the activity be after 30 minutes? I just had to halve it 6 times. Okay? Same could be said for the number of nuclei, same for the mass as well. What does this look like on a graph? You have been asked this already, to draw the graph, so you could be asked to draw it or use it. The y-axis could be number of nuclei, it could be the activity, or it could be the mass of the sample, so it doesn't matter, let's just go with n. And the time is always the x-axis, how much time has passed. Your graph is going to look like this, okay? This is radioactive decay, it's an exponential decay. If I start with 100 here and I say the half-life, 500 across and down is 2, and this is in minutes. That means 250 will be at 4, 125 will be at 6, and so on and so forth. Yeah? And that's the half-life. Different questions could be different things, alright? You just need to go and look at all the questions that have been asked and try them. But essentially, what you're going to do is half a starting value, a certain number of half-lives. Alright? You don't do 200 becquerel divided by 6. If 6 half-lives have passed, it's not divided by 6, it's divided by 2. It's half it, but halve it 6 times. Okay? Mohammed, you can stop that one.